rising, and just hope it stops soon.
Never seen it like that. I've lived there 47 years, I've never seen it like that.
It was like watching a disaster movie.
It is the feeling of horror and shock that this could happen in our town.
There was that period of uncertainty as to, you know, what had happened to your friends and family.
First thing that I seen in front of me, because it was dark, was a Christmas tree floating around, and the lights were still on.
You just realise the extent of the devastation. I think my life has been divided into before the flood and after it.
It just came up very fast throughout the night, and then it continued pouring down.
Cars underwater, the alarms going off, the electrics in the cars, you know, the indicators all flashing, and that eerie sound of quiet. And then these inflatable boats coming up the road, and then the volunteers for the rescue services shouting, "Anybody need any help?" You know, it was so bizarre, so eerie, unreal.
Everything was so still and calm the next day after the devastation, and people were quite numb. And as you knocked on doors and asked if they needed help, and everyone was going, "It's all right, I'm fine," but their eyes were telling you something different.
Just on Waterside, there were some families with little kids, and I went into their flat, you know, and it was one of the ground floor flats. Went in sort of about a week after the flood and the water subsided. And knowing that there were kids in there, and knowing it was close to Christmas, and knowing that there probably wasn't an awful lot of spare cash anyway, you do realise, as soon as you realise how lucky you are.
How far did it come
It was carnage. We were about up to here. A big tidal wave had come through the shop, and just everything was on the floor, and it got carried around the shop with the sheer force of water. It was absolutely destruction.
I keep remembering one young man who was with a partner about to buy a house and had saved and saved and saved for a deposit. He didn't just lose the home he was living in, he lost his job, so lost the mortgage on the new house, and ended up separated from his partner, sleeping in his car in December. It's just horrendous that you can lose so much.
But they needed time. That's what they needed. They needed people who could give them some time so they could talk through what's happened to them and talk about what they needed for the future.
We actually just completely dropped what we were doing for a few days and actually focused on the emergency response.
On the Monday morning, all the town councillors got together and SLDC, and we set up Kendal Cares.
It was quite humbling actually to see all those people come along, and they'd all been so busy themselves, many of them flooded themselves as well.
What I saw in that room for its first meeting was just that willingness to actually say, well, come together, what is it? And people were asking other organisations, well, how have you coped with this before?
I can't praise that group enough, and I think after all this is over, we need to find a way of continuing to work together in that way.
And people just came in off the streets, giving us stuff, giving us money, volunteering, and it gradually developed from there. And then of course I knew the church was doing an awful lot, so I came down here and we all put on our visibility jackets and went out there.
You went round knocking at doors to help people and to see how you could do, and Jean opened the doors to sort of offer food and coffee.
I said to the church, well, why don't we open the doors and have drinks, once we could get in here. And so when I went down to Asda to get some milk, I thought, I'll get some bread and cheese and eggs, make some sandwiches and perhaps some soup as well. So we came back and word soon spread, and we were having over 200 a day.
We've had donations from Spain.
And local people have helped with money as well. And we had lots of volunteers, particularly people who weren't flooded, who came to help as well. So our most amazing benefactor has been Cheryl.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we would have done without Cheryl.
It was just, I just wanted to help. I just wanted to help the people. So on Christmas Day, we took the van round and delivered meals.
We try to actually do our best to make sure everybody have something to eat over Christmas and can spend this time at least quite normal-ish, you know. So it was good, it was pleasure, and that was really what we felt in our hearts, just to help them.
Marks and Spencer's had a whole ton of turkeys that they were going to have to throw out. So if you turned up at our church on the midnight service, you walked into the porch to be greeted by, 24 turkeys down the sides of the porch that Marks and Spencer's had kindly given us, and by the end of the service, thankfully, they're all gone.
We've been really amazed at the amount of people that have supported, volunteers, church organisations, the flood bank, and people that we never expected would come out and say, I've got some time, please can we help? We're in conjunction with South Leighton District Council, and we made sure they were moved out of the scheme to a place of safety. We had to ensure that wherever they were going, they had the right facilities to cope with their needs. One particular property, we had to move them in a dialysis machine.
It has been a very, very traumatic time for people, and it has been a disaster that's hit Kendal really badly. But you know what? The community has stepped up. Together we've been able to offer a lot of support physically and emotionally to people.
In jargon, we call it discretionary effort. People just going beyond what they're paid to do. And that was so evident in that period of time.
As we speak, it's in excess of £10 million. Of that, we have already spent 4.7 million, and we're currently giving away roughly £160,000 a week in applications that are still coming in.
For a lot of people, it isn't nearly over. There's still houses with no floorboards.
But more and more people on a day-by-day basis are beginning to move into their homes. They now need to replace furniture and goods and equipment that they lost.
We've been back in our house 6 weeks now, but it's still not, we're not there yet.
If you are suffering any kind of hardship as a consequence of the floods, please just get in touch. Please just let us know. We can help in all kinds of ways.
I think that the spirit of the people of Kendal, of coming together and people wanting to help each other, even if they weren't affected by it, has been overwhelming. I think people have been fantastic.
It's like one big family, it's amazing. I haven't seen it before, it's something really, really good.
Got to know some of your neighbours a bit better, and they always speak now, and not always having a chat, but see how those will go past.
I've never been prouder to represent a community.
I've made more friends in the last 6 or 7 months than I have in the last 20 years. For me, that's absolutely crazy and unbelievable, but absolutely wonderful.
In a tragic way, it's brought out the best in the community.
On the Friday we opened in May, it went viral. We actually run out of floorboard, which is our top seller.
So if it ever did happen again with flooding, we can actually get through the recovery process by just giving people chocolate floorboard.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have a porta cabin outside if this ever happens again, and then we're going to do that. And that's
right, that's on camera. Okay, that's noted, Kendal. If this happens again, Sharon's going to get a porta cabin and sell chocolate floorboard.
Yeah. Oh, fingers crossed, it will never happen again. It was so freak.
Yeah. People have come together and have done their utmost to help people in a terrible situation.
To say a big thank you, it doesn't sound enough, but it is meant to be.
You've simply been amazing, all you volunteers that have given your time and energy generously. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Kendal, you are amazing.
Thank you for everybody's input to their communities.
I'd just like to say you've been amazing.
I would like to thank the volunteers from the bottom of our hearts for their support and the love. It meant so much in a really dark time, and you deserve lots and lots of thanks. Thank you.
We could not have done it without the volunteers.
Without them, we can't move forward, we can't do everything. The Environment Agency can't do everything on its own, and their help has been massive.
One of the amazing things has been the number of people who've been prepared to do things on top of what they normally do.
Amazing people that have risen to the occasion and have been absolutely wonderful. And to each and every one, well done and thank you. And may God bless you as you have blessed others.
I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all those people and all those organisations who've contributed to this fund. It may have gone off the headlines, it may not be a big topic of conversation anymore, but people are still suffering, they're still not back in their homes, and they're still fighting to rebuild their lives. They couldn't have done it without you, and we're so grateful for all your help.